I think at this point, like mentally, like we're completely lost of body, right? And any energy. So really it's just like mentally she's still there, but even that's starting to slow down.
But it is a thing that people experience like at the end of life, is to have this like super lucidity like she has at the end. That's really awful for like the people around them, because they seem instantly like well or better or very like able to think clearly. And that's an actual clinically observed thing that happens.
You talk about the pain, like I'll soon be free of this pain, but what is actually hurting, we think it might just be chronic pain. It's not like agonizing, because otherwise, you know, it would be like moaning and wailing and, you know, but I think it's been so painful for so long that it's just what it is. But what's happening now in the final hours that I think the doctor observes is one by one, each organ is starting to shut down. And I think there is observation too of that like final jolt of, oh, I think I'm better now, right before the end. We don't have to pay strict attention to any kind of like wheezing or like an arm goes not like whatever it is. It's just literally the functions are going.
In terms of like shaking, is that too much?
Yeah, I think you can do it.
A little bit. I just imagine like the sickest even I've ever been, and like the least, like every movement feels just very draining, and so you kind of limit it, especially if you're trying to use your wits, you know?
Yeah.
I think we talked about it the first day. It's like, what is the story after this, you know? And actually, like, probably Alfredo does a lot of mourning and realizes that he's completely changed because of her. And, you know, like, everybody's changed for the better because of her.
I do want to point out, though, that Verdi interestingly ends the opera sounding very ba ba ba, but you know, it's not a happy ending, and he could have easily done it like the woman dies and daddy and son are reunited and realize the error of their ways, you know? A lot of opera is done like honoring sort of, they like Carmen, you know what I mean? Like we end up killing a woman just to prove a bigger point, and I think that actually like the story is that like a really lovely human did die, like,
and that's tragic,
and that is a tragedy, and that the tragedy is that there's very little that anyone, you know, could have done to help her because of her circumstances, etc. So it's sort of like, I don't know, even though it's important to note those relationships, it's like also important to note like they were kind of not like they weren't evolved enough to understand the things that we understand about them today.
Also worth noting is like in real life, she died alone. And it's kind of wishful thinking on Verdi's part. Like even in Dumas' version, he goes through all how she just dies and it's just a maidservant there. And it's kind of, I don't know, looking for the ideal perhaps. Looking for what he wished he could have had with his own wife and children that died. I don't know.
She, you know, they come and collect her body and they realize, oh, she has all these debts, let's have an estate sale. They bury her in a temporary grave, like she can't even afford, A, because of where she came from, but also like in a matter of days, they're just gonna dig her up so that that's free for the next person that dies, you know, and he comes and says, no, I'm gonna get her a permanent one, and like honoring her at least in that way, that she's worthy of a permanent place to rest.